Hey, Gabriel,
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
where are we today?
We are at our respective homes, you
hmm
and Not Bill, me and the Tenderloin, and
hmm
we watched the 2017. Is it a classic? I would say classic. A ghost story
hmm
starring Rooney
2000s.
Mara and Alex Casey
Casey
Affleck.
Affleck.
Yeah, sorry, I was a bit distracted. For
Yeah,
some
Casey
reason,
Affleck.
IMDb is like suggesting to me. Uh,
Kesa?
no, it's not Kesha. It's fuck. Who is that Japanese director that everybody loves?
Kurosawa?
Yes, it's suggesting to me Kurosawa, Spirited Away, and I don't know why.
Oh, no, then you're talking about Miyazaki.
Yes.
Okay.
What's his first name?
Hideo Miyazaki, I think?
Yes.
No, I think that is Hideo Miyazaki now. Miyazaki. Hayao, sorry. Hayao Miyazaki.
Hayao Miyazaki. Yes.
And Kurosawa was Akira Kurosawa.
So this was your pick, Jose. You wanted us to watch this.
Yeah, and I wanted to watch this because, well, first I already joked about this on the previous podcast that this is another movie that you barely see the face of the main actor or actress, like Frank. But Frank is a bit of an excessive role. I think, is that you actually hear Fassbender like doing all these jokes about, I have like a positive grin in my face right now, but he has like a gigantic, like fake head. And it's like, yeah, it's hilarious. And he actually does like very strenuous movement, and then he actually goes into this mental breakdown. So there is like many different registries that he has to hit. But Casey Affleck on this movie, as I remember, is like, he doesn't do anything. He's like just basically with a blanket on top of him, and basically what he does is like, I'm going to be observing in a very awkward and creepy way what is happening around him. And I have to say, I love this movie when I watched it the first time. I'm not going to say yet if I like it this time or not. And I was wondering how come you hadn't seen it back then, because it felt like first it's from A24, so it's for millennials and you are a millennial, and then it's and then second is a bit of an artsy house kind of movie. And he's like, that's weird. He said, this is exactly what I would expect Blake to actually just tell me. He's like, you haven't watched this? He said, then you don't like cinema.
So I will say that this is exactly my type of film. I mean, this film was made for me. I can't explain to you why I didn't see it when it came out 4 years ago, I think, 2017, right?
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yes, so this is exactly my type of film. It's beautiful people being super sad about existential tragedy. There's nothing more that's my type of film.
Yeah. But what is this movie about? What happens in this movie? You already said like what is the topic, but
Okay, so tell me if I'm wrong, but Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck are a married couple. They live in a ranch house in what I'm guessing is rural anywhere. Like we don't really know exactly where these people live.
I think that is California, because on the party scene, I think that they mentioned something about California.
Okay, could be, but it's not that important, I think.
No.
And they clearly have a loving relationship. They have a connection. We see them have sex, and because of all of this, we think that they have a healthy relationship. I don't know if that's true or not. But one morning, there's an accident on the road in front of this home that Casey Affleck shares with Rooney Mara, and Casey Affleck dies. So at that point, we see Casey Affleck. I don't know. How do I describe this? He's a ghost, but he's a ghost according to like a 6-year-old. Like, he literally has a sheet over his head. We never see his eyes. He follows Rooney Mara all over, and we watch. I don't even know how to describe this. How would you describe what Casey Affleck watches? You
What do
see
you mean?
him be particularly possessive of this place where his house was built with Rooney Mara, but we also see time move forward very quickly, and we see
Casey Affleck getting stuck, like remaining completely stuck. And maybe just jumping a bit more, I'm going to say it. I love this movie. I watch it again, and it's one of those movies. I'm sorry for just jumping to this, but I'm like just biting my tongue back. It's one of those movies that all the elements feel dumb, and I feel peace about some of them, but somehow it's like a miracle.
it is a miracle, and I didn't like the story this much, but this is my type of movie. This is exactly what I like about cinema, and I actually got super upset a couple times during the film because the film was able to make me feel. It was able to make me feel. That's the end of that sentence. I
would say that it's one of those movies that is more than the sum of the parts. That is like all of the parts, they actually surprisingly work together, because when you actually see like Casey Affleck standing up and just wearing a blanket with two black eyes, it feels exactly what you say. It's like a 6-year-old imagining this, but somehow it works, because at the end is the message that is trying to come across. And this is the reason I was telling you before we started the podcast, I'm not 100% unbiased. It's like I even just can't call myself on this. It's because it's about the grieving process in a very direct and at the same time imaginative kind of way. But how direct and indirect kind of way. And I think that how it's narrated, it resonates with me. I have like a weak spot for movies that are about like grieving.
I completely agree with you. This was a hard film to watch. It was a very hard film to watch because it is about grieving, and I felt very uncomfortable in how much it made me like empathize. This was a very difficult film to watch, and that's not a complaint, but it's so, how to say this? It's so authentic that it made me uncomfortable to feel all of the emotions that these characters were feeling. And I couldn't not help but feel their feelings. I couldn't.
Yeah, and I think that we're talking about this, or you texted me, that is like we see Rooney Mara eating a pie real time. That is scene, I think that is like 3 minutes long. And it's like but it works. It works. It's like it's the kind of movie that, okay, true, it could be like just very slow pace, but if I had to put like the touring horse and this next to each other, it's like this is enjoyable. This is like, okay, it has been like 5 minutes. We have seen like 5 minutes also of them like just hugging in bed after the piano goes, it goes crazy in the middle of the night, and then they come back to bed and they spend like 5 minutes like just hugging. And at the same time, it's like, why do I need to see this? But at the same time, it transmitting me. It's actually they just transmitting the intimacy, transmitting like the emotional attachment that they have to each other. And it's exactly the same thing with Rooney Mara. Is that everything feels, because it's masterfully directed, about like, okay, I can stretch this for 5 minutes, and it's going to be like just bringing a point across. It's not about like just the touring horse that is like, no, there's even more artsy. It's even more about like, I want to make you feel the suffering, making you suffer through this. In this case, I want you to see how Rooney Mara is like initially like completely in shock, and she breaks down while she's eating the pie, and this she actually just explodes. So that scene for me is like just masterfully shot, because she started like just crying while she's like half through the pie, and she started like just getting like violently eating it, and then just going to the restroom to throw up, while Casey Affleck with a blanket on top of him just stares at her.
Standing next to her. So I completely agree with you. I think that you know how much I loved The Touring Horse. I loved it. But this film made me connect with the characters in a way that was so uncomfortable with me. it was hard to watch these characters go through this grief, and they were clearly going through grief, and the director was so talented that he could make me empathize with them. And I think you and I talk with some frequency about disliking directors that use music in a way to tell the viewer how to feel, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't like that. But I think this director was able to use music in such a way that it forced me to empathize with the characters in a difficult way. When Rooney Mara puts the headphones on and Casey Affleck, I think it's supposed to be music that he wrote, right?
Yeah, because we see him like a moment, well, later on the movie, we see him like just playing on the piano and just singing also along, like the same song that he was listening. Like Get Over the Wall. Yeah.
So the moment I'm referring to, he's still alive and he puts the headphones on her and he asks, well, he doesn't ask, he has her listen to this music that he's created, and it's so incredibly intense. And tell me if I'm wrong or tell me if I'm completely off base, but it's so difficult to watch this woman experience listening to the music of her husband who dies. Like, it's just so intimate. Everything about what we experience is intimate in this movie.
Yeah, and the thing that you didn't mention is that we actually see that this is a flashback, that is actually listening, like just laying on the ground, like on some headphones, like a small, like just phone headphones. She's listening to the same song, and she's remembering when she listened to this song for the first time with Casey Affleck when he was still alive. So we actually see like how she connects like with her feelings, but we see him like completely desolated nowadays, and we see him that she was suffering back then on that relationship, because the conversation starts like, when are we going to be like talking about this? There is something that they are discussing that we figured it out later that is like keeping in life. Something that we're saying is like, we see the grieving process of two parties when a relationship is broken, but is that this is broken for death, and this is something that even when you break up after a relationship that has lasted 4 years, there is also a grieving period. It's not the same kind of intensity from the perspective that is that the other person is still alive. But when someone dies, especially when they were like supposedly happy, is that the live person ends up moving on. That is what happened to Rooney Mara. But Casey Affleck, as the ghost, is like, they actually ask, is like, what happens, if there is a soul? What would happen with that person? How that person would actually go through, like moving on when your life doesn't exist anymore. It's like, you almost feel like for an alive person, it's like eventually you need to move on because the world keeps moving on and it keeps pushing you forward. But with someone that is stuck in there, it's like, what about it? You cannot move, and you even like forget about like where you are, what were you waiting for, what is like your motive for going on. And then when we get to see them, because there is like a bit of a weird, I was like wondering about like how you felt about like when he goes back in time, and we start like seeing the beginning of the relationship when they move into the house. We see that Casey Affleck, the reason why they were not agreeing and what they were discussing is because Rooney Mara wanted to move out of the house. She wanted to move somewhere else. And Casey Affleck said, I want to stay here. He was stuck already at that place.
I think what I found so refreshing about this film is that I could empathize with both Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara 100%. I felt what I think they were feeling as characters in this film, and I wanted to feel more of that.
But
I wanted to be with these characters longer. I wanted to experiment, to experience what they were going through.
Yeah, but the interesting thing that I still found like this time about like, wow, this amazing, because we are not given so much about them. We know like very, very small things. Is that we can infer some other stuff about like the books that they have around, or the kind of stuff that they have around about like what kind of people are they, but they express very little, like look into the camera. There is not a lot going on. There is not like a lot of exposition.
Do you feel that is accurate with Rooney Mara? Because I feel like she gives a tremendous amount to the camera. She's so vulnerable in this film that she...
But do you know what kind of person she is? Do you know what she does for a living?
No, but it doesn't matter, I think.
But that's the interesting part, is that it actually makes you care about characters that they are not like fully fleshed out. But it actually makes you care about them because the director cares about like making you emotionally connect with them through the relationship that they have between, not about like the people that they are as a whole, only because aspects of them.
But don't you think that's what makes this film be beautiful? Is that it doesn't matter what these characters experienced in the past. Yeah. See them in this moment where they need to connect in a super emotional way.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like I'm not complaining. I mean, I love like how different it is to other shows, to other movies, from the perspective that is like it doesn't need to do anything else. It's like a bit more of a minimalistic movie. And it works that way. Is that there are like how many actors? 2, and some extras, that they pop up from time to time. And there is like this obnoxious guy like giving this nihilistic perspective of the world. But beyond that, there is no one else. It's about Casey Affleck wearing a blanket and Rooney Mara eating a pie, and it works.
And when I was watching this, I was super, super pissed off at you that you knew exactly who I am so well. That you're like, of course, this is a movie for me. This is exactly my type of movie.
How did you feel about... Come on, man. I mean, I actually recommend you. I insisted you several times that I would love to hear your opinion on this movie, And
I should have watched it sooner. I should have watched it, but
I had to say that the first time that I watched it, it was like mind blown. I mean, I was like, wow, this was extremely smart. When things started like just click for me about like half through the movie is like, this is not dumb. It's like at the beginning you think like this is super dumb, but when you actually get it, like towards like half of the movie, it's like, oh, okay, I see exactly, what it's like they're trying to do here. And it's smart and it's beautiful. And the thing that I was going to be asking you is like, how did you feel about the 4/3 format instead of a widescreen?
So I obviously paid attention to it. I saw that the aspect ratio was different than a normal film. And there was a part of me that wanted to be pissed off that there was like no talking. But that's exactly what I love, so I got annoyed at myself for being upset. This film was exactly what I wanted. Whenever a director plays around with the aspect ratio, I have to say that it makes me question, like, hey, what are we trying to experience here? Why is it in this weird, like, dimension? I don't know. It didn't bother me in this film, but I didn't understand exactly why it was in this aspect ratio. Did you?
So one of the things that I also realized is that I was complaining for most of the movie about this, and I was complaining and enjoying it at the same time. I was feeling like, God, I see what you're doing, but it's like I feel bad with myself that I'm enjoying this, that every single shot feels like an Instagram post. Every single fucking shot is like just masterfully crafted for saying like, this is gorgeous. Is that this is like, I already applied this filter, everything feels like I could just take a shot of this and it would look perfect. It would look like what a couple like them would actually be posting on Instagram. And even like the aspect ratio I was feeling is like, this is even more like just resonating with the sensibility of people that A24, once again, targets to millennials. Millennials, all of them know Instagram. And at some point they actually love it, So it's like, this is actually beautifully, like crafted for just knowing exactly what is the target audience of it. And that actually, a part of me just wonders, like, I love like what is the story about like the grief process, and how creative it tackles it. But a part of me just wonders how visually will this movie age.
Well, let me speak as someone who didn't watch the film until several years have passed. I think this film will age remarkably well.
Yeah.
I actually got pissed off while watching this, understanding that the director could manipulate me.
I mean, honestly, I don't care about that. I appreciate it even. It's like if they can actually just play with my heartstrings, but they make effort for doing so, I'm absolutely down. I feel peace when I see a Disney movie and I can actually just see like all the steps that they are doing is like a like a checklist, like a script about like we're going to be using this song and we're going to be like just placing. There was something that when watching Marvel movies I was feeling that look, this is the most derivative thing that I ever seen in my life. Is that I already like identify like this is the sad moment, this is the heroic moment, this is you always use the same formula, but this for me is bold because once again all the elements that they're using they can come across as extremely dumb. But it's bold about like just putting it all together and just making it resonate with the audience.
But there's nothing dumb about this film at all. I mean,
Casey Affleck is wearing a blanket with 2 black holes the whole time.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't know how to say this. The director was able to manipulate my emotions in a way that I find the most pleasing.
Most pleasing, but you actually said that it was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch because it's painful. It's hard to watch somebody go through that amount of loss.
Yeah.
And what Rooney Mara experiences is truly terrible. I mean, I don't think any of us could say that it's easy to watch someone lose their partner, which is what we have to watch in this film.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to say this, but I don't envy the director being able to manipulate me at the level of my emotions that he did, because I'm super impressed, super impressed that he was able to play with my emotions that way.
Look, but it's like, once again, is it true? He actually, I don't think that he was, from my perspective, I don't think that he's manipulating. I think that he's telling an emotional story, and the elements are there directly. I don't think that it's cheap. I would consider that it's manipulation if he does it in an easy, cheap way, as I was saying, like Disney movies. But in this case, he went in a path that it could have actually derailed multiple times because it's not 100% direct.
Yeah, and that's true, completely. But do you think there are directors that are that talented that could make us feel this way? I think it takes a very, very special director to be able to manage to manipulate our emotions. I don't think there's many directors out there that could do this.
Maybe not. It's like I was checking like the rest of his movies, and I didn't find anything that I would say, oh, it was this was amazing. I don't know if you check everything else too.
What else did he direct?
So his first movie was Death Room in 2005, The Saint Nick in 2009, then Ein den Bodies Saints in 2013, some sorts in between all of these, and then A Ghost Story in 2017. And he has Peter Pan and Wendy in pre-production.
Okay, so no, he hasn't created anything of interest since then.
But that's the thing, is like for me, once again, this feels like a miracle because this time also when I started watching, it's like maybe I overrated this movie, but when things actually like just click again, is holy shit, this is a one-off. This is like, I don't know if this guy is talented or not, but it's like it's almost like the planets have aligned, and he has produced a personal masterpiece. I don't know if objectively I would call it like a personal masterpiece, but how I resonate with it is amazing.
But it is a masterpiece. I mean, this is an incredible film. It's incredible. I don't think anyone can deny that.
Oh, well, I mean, before we start recording, I was wondering how our guest star from some months ago could feel about this movie, because also I think that this also falls into a bit more on the art house category, and there is quite a bit of metaphorical aspect to it. For example, after Rooney Mara moves away, after she actually moves on with her life, is that we see like the different stages of grief in an indirect way through the new people that they move into the house, So we see like how he terrorizes with anger like the Latino family that moves in, and then how we see like the nihilistic approach, and just despair with that 5 minutes conversation about like nothing fucking matters on the party. To just be like completely forgotten. And then going back in time.
I completely agree with you, and I just feel that it's been a long time since a director was able to make me feel the way that this director made me feel.
And I'm happy to hear that. It's like I don't think that is manipulation when he does it in a smart way. Even if the smart way we think that is like, Rooney Mara eating a cake for 5 minutes. By the way, do you know what do you think that was in that cake?
I have no idea. What do you think?
I was wondering if it was like chocolate or pecan pie.
I didn't have a guess. I thought.
Because I was thinking that if I were to shock, pity, anger, all the feelings that Runa is feeling in that moment, if I were as a pecan pie, probably would have thrown up after the second bite. It's like, this is too sweet. I'm sorry, I'm out of here. But yeah, I love this movie. This is a movie that I recommended multiple times about like I never expected this movie to be this good. And this is a movie that I think that more people should know about and should talk about. I think that it has been really underrated because I think that Casey Affleck was like he was like one of the accused parties on the Me Too movement, because I think that this movie was just after Manchester by the Sea.
Was it?
Let me just check. I think that it was like just after it, so it was a bit on the Manchester by the Sea was 2016, and 2017 was like the season, when all the Me Too movement was going on, and Casey Affleck was in the center of it too. So I think that this movie was a bit ignored because of that.
That's interesting. I will say that I didn't expect to be completely captivated by this film as much as I was. I'm completely blown away by this film. I think it's incredible. I would recommend it to anyone, and I regret, what's the term? I am upset with how much this film was able to play with my emotions. I don't like when a film can do that, and the film did. I mean, it made me feel like a puppet.
Yeah, I mean, I had to say that I already knew what it was going this time. It didn't feel, but that's the thing, is I didn't feel that it was cheap. I felt it's like
not a cheap film at all.
Yeah, it's that you actually had the elements, you play like masterfully, so hats off. You deserve that. The first time when I finished watching it, it's like I think that it was even like just partially crying. And I didn't feel like peace. Like, for example, we were talking about the Return last time. I was saying that I feel like the idea of the box and not knowing what was in the box, it was cheap. But in this case, not knowing what was in the note, I think that it was perfect. I think that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like at the end, it's like what it makes him to just realize it didn't matter at all. It hasn't changed anything. And death, I'm never going to be like seeing her again. I need to move on. Yeah,
I agree completely.
Yeah. So whatever he wrote, no one cares. No one. But yeah, this is a movie that I will keep recommending for many, many years. I won't forget it.
Very glad that you recommended it to me. And I'm a little bit embarrassed that I didn't see it in theaters in the first place.
Yeah. Just a random question. Was A First Reform also in the same aspect ratio?
I think it was, yeah. I think it was 9/6 rain.
Yeah, I think that, First Reform, and it was from the same, oh no, it was 2018. But yeah, I think that I went to the cinema to watch both of them, and it's like, what is this resurgence of this format? Why are we doing this now? And I think that it was a bit more of visual language more than anything else. It was not like a real reason. It's not like aesthetic, like Mank, like recording in black and white.
I think it's just to like grab people's attention, right? Like, oh, we're different. We're very different.
Yeah, you can say like this way you have like less space to just get distracted with it. You have to just center a bit more like attention. There's going to be like more focus on the characters, blah 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 blah. But for me, on this movie, on Ghost Story, is like that's an Instagram post. That is an Instagram post. And I would say like that's an Instagram post. There was like a point, I think that is when Casey Affleck as a ghost starts telepathically talking with Kesha. That is another ghost in the house next door. It's like at that point, it's like those frames were like so perfectly, like framed about like just pretty far from the windows, like this is 100% an Instagram post. Because I'm pretty sure that you guys like spend a while on each one of them. You guys like, I don't know, probably like consulted with some influencers, for just knowing, so like, okay, the camera has to be like a bit more to the right because he feels perfect.
And it was perfect.
Yeah. Would you watch this movie again?
Yes, 100% yes.
Actually, this is a movie that I would like us to rewatch, similar to Enemy. Like rewatch a year from now. Like for sure, a year from now.
Yeah, I would like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I would definitely watch it one more time. No issue there. Would you recommend it? You already said that you recommend it to everyone.
Yes, I would recommend it.
Trying to think. I think of some people that probably they will feel a bit pissed about it, But if they are in for a slow burn kind of movie with a not explosive emotional payoff like the Turing Horse, because I think that when Casey Affleck just, I don't know, dissipates, like fizzles away, it's not really like an emotional payoff, or it's not like the same kind of contundent as with the Turing Horse.
You can't compare it to the Turing Horse.
Yeah. So I think that some people may feel put off by, do I have to put up with 5 minutes of Rooney Mara eating a cake? Do I have to put up with 5 minutes of Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck kissing?
A little bit obnoxious, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, having to watch her eat pie in real time, I was like, fuck you, whoever director you are. I love the film, but fuck you.
Honestly, what I was thinking this time is like, if they have to repeat this scene, it's going to be like a pain in the butt. Imagine that, I don't know, like a Casey Affleck in the back suddenly has like a, how do you say, like a leg pain or whatever, and he needs to actually just sit down. Is like, they're not going to be like repeating that like 2 hours later. I mean, at least I wouldn't be able to eat another cake, another pie like 2 hours later, just to be completely fair. Maybe she can, but she's almost at the same level as Keira Knightley of pie eating.
Whoa.
She's pretty thin.
Yeah, if you say so.
Okay. Would you remember this movie?
Yeah. No, this is a great film.
Yeah, I remember most of it. So I remember like, okay, there's like a brief introduction, then the death, then the moving on from Rooney Mara, then the Latino family, then the party, then the weird building, and we can see like how time has evolved, and the city has exploded, whatever that city is, and then going back in time. I remember like all the kind of leitmotif of it. I remember like the scene with the song, that is gorgeous. So yeah, I remember like many of the details that I don't think that I'm going to be like forgetting attention. Is there anything artistic about it? I already said it's painfully artistic. About like the composition of every single scene, how loose is with the characters, and I think that is bold, artistically bold, without going into any kind of avant-garde or anything crazy.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's a lot that's artistic about this, and it's very difficult to, I don't know, restrict this film into how we view it.
No, that's fair. Yeah, because as we're saying, this is an interesting kind of collection of smaller pieces, and all of them like come together flawlessly.
And I got super upset at how much this film made me feel. I got super pissed off. I was like, fuck you, Jose, because I didn't get to feel this. No.
Well, I'm sorry, if I pick anything around time, but it's like, I think that it's a really good movie. Let's just leave it there.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think that this is a timeless piece?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is completely timeless.
Yeah, as I said earlier, it's like the theme, yes. Now, the photography, that I think that it leverages like quite a bit on it. I'm curious to see how we will feel about it like 20 years in the future if we're still around about it.
I would also be very interested into seeing how it appears to us in 20 years.
Yeah, because as you said, it's like this movie was released 4 years ago and you watch it now, you didn't watch it back then. But when the visual language correlates with a social network like Instagram, it's like that's still predominant nowadays. It hasn't changed yet, It's like if we wait like 10 years and maybe all our visual language is moving towards TikTok, it's like if it actually just win the social media by a storm, it's like at that point it's going to be like interesting, like just looking, or any other kind of visual language, it actually starts like dominating. Is going to be interesting, and looking back at this, like what were they thinking? Is that they feel super age.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Could you turn this into a TV show?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, a part of me even thinks, how would the movie work as a short?
It wouldn't at all.
You wouldn't? You think that you wouldn't? Like a 1 year, it's like 59 minutes. That is the limit for a short.
I don't think so. Do you really think that it would work as a short?
But the thing is that this is a 90-minute movie. I don't think that it has so much fat. I think that it's like because of those longer scenes that they feel like pretty mundane, is that's what helps you connect with the characters. If you turn this into a short, you may remove that. You may remove like the party scene, for example. And it's like I think that you're going to be skipping some of the stages of grief that they go through, or not making so much, like emphasis on them, like making it a bit more lighter. And I think that the reason why this works is because it's deep. It actually not only deep, but it gets under your skin, because he just actually fester on on those scenes, like Bruno Mara eating a pie.
Yeah, no, I see what you say. I do, but I wouldn't want the film to change in any way. I enjoyed what it asked of me, and I wanted to make those demands. I wanted to make me feel bad. That's what I liked about it.
Wow. May I ask, so did this movie make you feel worse than Haneke movies?
Yeah, it was more painful than watching a Haneke film. Way more painful.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So now the next question you already replied. Do you think that this movie could have been better?
I loved this film. I loved it. I wouldn't want to be any different than it was. I don't think that it was a perfect film at all. So yes, it could be improved upon, but it's been a long time since I felt like a film could boss me around like it did. And this made me feel like, oh, I'm going to make you feel things, and
yep. It doesn't matter if you're ready to feel them or not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yep. I'm going to fuck you up.
And to be honest, it made me cry. It made me cry a lot, and that super, super surprised me.
Yeah. This time, it didn't make me cry, but I think that the first time it did. Yeah, like with Rooney Mara, like some of the scenes, I almost felt moved when she's like just eating the pie. And I know that I keep coming back, but it's like I still feel like this is equally. I mean, I could see like some people hating this movie and say like I don't need to watch this because it's dumb. but at the same time, as someone that lost someone close, I could resonate about like that mixture between like apathy. Is apathy a word?
Yeah.
Feeling like apathetic about it, then just feeling anger, then just feeling, you know, like that kind of mixture, that kind of cocktail of feelings. And I think that Rooney Mara does it flawlessly on that scene.
And I had the same reaction, man. Like I didn't think it could make me cry, but it did.
Yeah. But it's like, once again, it's still like amazing that they achieved that while we have a guy dress up in a blanket for most of the movie. It's like, that's something that is like, look, if I were to teach cinema, I would say like, look, there are like sometimes that it's not about the elements that you use, that they may be like completely stupid. It's about how you use them. You know, it's like anything can work out, anything. So now I'm going to start like just looking with a different eyes when I see movies like I say, what is the name? Battleship, like the adaptation of the Game Boy. Is like, this could have worked. This could have worked. It's not about the idea, because the idea, imagine that you are pitching this movie. It's like, yeah, I want to just depict the grieving process, not only from the perspective of someone losing a loved one, but also the loved one being lost. And that person is going to be wearing a blanket with 2 holes. It's like, if someone pitches this to me and I'm the producer, it's like, you are fucking insane. So bravo. Once again, it's like, I think that this movie could have been better. I don't know how. Honestly, I don't know how, because every single time that I was feeling that this is dumb, and I felt like for half a microsecond, like this is that. No, this is genius.
It's really a very good film. Very good.
Yeah. Should we score it?
Yes.
So this was my pick. So what is your score?
8.5.
Okay, this is a 9 for me.
Wow.
Yeah, as I told you, I know that I'm a bit biased, but I, once again, like, hats off for just being bold with some crazy direction and just having the creative power for making it work.
And I respect that completely.
Yeah. And as we usually say about, I say, like Gaspar Noé or Haneke or even Lars von Trier, is like that I think at least that they're like bold directors. Is like, this is the kind of movie that I want to watch more, like, you know, like just being able to go crazy with something, you know, taking risk, and they may work, they may not work. In this case, for me, it worked perfectly. Yeah. So what are we watching this?
Oh fuck, my god.
I mean, I can just tell you, but it's your pick.
Give me 1 second. Well, we're watching 45 Years, the film that I think is incredible, and I'm looking forward to making you watch.
I love when you present it as, I'm making you watch this, because otherwise you would never watch it.
Because you wouldn't watch it in either case.
Okay. Oh man, anything else to say about A Ghost Story?
That's it. Just wash your hands.
Okay. Bye.